We acknowledge we are hosted on the lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples.
Hello, and welcome to Tips and Tricks for Helping Children Return to School. My name is Afshan Siddiqui. I am a psychologist with the board. Yvonne Wyndham, a speech-language pathologist, and I will be presenting you with some ideas to make your students' transition back to school as easy as possible. We have several videos that cover a range of topics in a collection. This particular video is on making connections. Some of our other topics include preparing for change, getting ready for school expectations, improving focus, and managing feelings of anxiety. We also have one that is dedicated to helping older students that combines much of the information in our other videos. The videos can be viewed in any order, so please watch them in whichever order you prefer. Before we continue on with the topic of making connections, it's important to understand the power of relationships in schools. So we'll take a minute to just view a video that's already been developed on making relationships and how they can help.
You had so much to offer yesterday. You okay?
I'm tired.
So what's going on?
Strong relationships are central to the learning process. What the science of learning and development tells us is that we need to create learning environments which allow for strong long-term relationships for children to become attached to school and to the adults and other children in it.
When children have experiences of closeness and consistency and trust, oxytocin is released. Oxytocin has many, many positive effects on the development of the brain. So when we think about a relationship, we're not just talking about being nice to a child. We're talking about a child having an experience of attunement and trust strong enough to release the hormone oxytocin.
Good morning, Ariana. How you doing today?
The purpose of the morning greeting is to connect with them and to just make sure that I'm seeing them as humans. Like I'm making that relationship with them, making that bond.
I prioritize relationship building because getting to know them is the best part of the job.
When I come in the morning, we usually talk about things that are happening in our community.
We're trying to build caring and respect.
The teacher is trying to understand who I am and my values as a person.
When I have a free 45 minutes or an hour, I think to myself, I could sit down and catch up on grading, or I could go and make connections, whether it's a smile or a joke or a reminder. It validates their presence in the building.
Rock it out in the art room. It starts from so much honesty and transparency with kids. It's really easy to strive to be this like idealized, always ready to go elementary school teacher, and that's not real and that's not human. When people start talking about other things while I'm still giving directions, it feels frustrating for me and I have to take a breath. My students connect most with me when they see that I also struggle and I also have challenges. It takes a lot of vulnerability on my part.
Total familiarity.
When that student knows that you care about them, when they know that you're a human,
Let's think about that.
their academic performance in your class is going to be better.
If I'm comfortable around them, then I'm more confident around them, and it's easier to ask questions and things like that.
So when you're looking at this graph, what is it that you think happened?
Some teachers I don't always get along with the best, so then sometimes I'm like, I can't do it, so I'm just not gonna do it. But when I like the teacher, I want to do their work. I'll be like, I can learn this.
You all have done outstanding work.
Emotion and learning are completely connected. If you're in a positive emotional space, if you feel good about yourself, your teacher, that actually opens up the opportunity for more learning.
Good to see.
I hope this video helps you to see how important relationships can be. In order to reconnect with your students before school starts, consider sending them a video message, a letter, or email to introduce yourself for the first time if you haven't met, or to reintroduce yourself if they've already been in your class previously. For students who have special needs, consider sending pictures of the school, classroom, and yourself in a social story format, just to get them prepared for what to expect when they arrive back at school. We cover the use of social stories in another one of our videos on preparing for change. So please take a look at that video if you're interested in developing a social story that you can use with your students. Once school has started, you would want to take the first few days just to have fun and get to know each other. The academic piece will definitely be important, but that will likely come later. So we want to spend the first little bit of time just really connecting, because the stronger our connections are, the more likely we'll be able to work hard and produce appropriate work later on. For students who may have had fewer chances to play and interact with others, they may need some explicit reminders and lessons for you in terms of social skills, just to get reminded of conflict resolution types of rules and problem solving and things like that. It's important that we do play, though, just as partly a stress relief and partly to build those emotional connections. Another thing to consider when you return to school is trying to greet each student as they come into the classroom, or if you're a staff member who doesn't necessarily have a classroom, to greet the students in the hallways. There's many different types of greetings that you could consider using. Some examples that we have here are things like saying hello, using the namaste sign, the Vulcan sign, peace sign, nodding your head or waving, or even doing a distant high five or a fist bump. Using these types of greetings can help show your students that you care. Another thing we would want to do is check in with parents and caregivers. We'd like to enlist our parents and caregivers as partners in the process. Find new ways to engage with parents and caregivers, especially those that had difficulty connecting with you during this period. So here are some ideas of ways to connect with parents. You could do it through email, short newsletters, through setting up a website just for them, and many more things. Consider what will work for your parents. Ask them how they are doing and how they were or are managing with the new normal of education. You would also want to do some check-ins with your students when you first return. So you would want to talk with each of your students to see how they're doing. And remember that not all students will want to discuss their experiences with you. Validate that everyone has had different experiences. And continue to check in with those who may need it. Also, you would likely need to consider accessing some support services for those who do need some extra help beyond what you can provide in your classroom. When and how often should you check in with your students? At first, check in every day if possible, just to see how they're doing. And then continue to check in daily with those who may need that extra support. And then over time, check in once a week and then as needed with students who seem to be doing well. Another way of getting reconnected is through having peer buddies. Some students may be more willing to share their struggles with other classmates or other peers than they would be with adults. So if you can set up a buddy system so that all children have access to a peer that they can or they feel comfortable with sharing some of their experiences, then that could be something that could be helpful for children who don't necessarily want to share with
others at school.
You might also want to consider setting up virtual spaces like an Instagram page or other types of social media so that you and your students have a way to connect outside of the classroom. These spaces could have quotes, pictures, videos, soothing music, all kinds of things just to have a way for you all to connect. So here are a few things to remember from this particular video. When possible, connect with your students both before and once school gets started. Introduce yourself before school begins through an email or other means. Once school has started, allow some time to play, connect, and get to know each other. Greet students at the door when they're entering your classroom, or if you're a staff member without a classroom, to greet them in the hallways. Do daily check-ins with your students at first, and continue to meet with those that need these check-ins. Access support for those students that need the extra help. Set up buddy systems and virtual spaces to increase connection. Thank you for watching our video on building connections. We hope that there's some information that you can take back to your classrooms and that you will consider watching some of our other videos for more information. Thanks again.